recording?
Yeah, we're good, dog.
Awesome. Yeah, so today we're sitting down with Jonny Nelson,
the one and only.
The one and only. He's
there's probably a lot of them.
There might be a lot of Jonny Nelsons, but this is our favorite by far.
Right.
And he's an improviser, actor, teacher, cyclist. He's living that hashtag van life. He's a traveler extraordinaire, and a gardener and part-time pottery guy. So welcome to the Untied podcast, Jonny.
What a freaking delight, Jackson.
Yeah, so to give people a little bit of background, Sonny and I met Jonny at level D.
Yes.
I believe? Yeah.
Yes. Or was it C?
No, it wasn't.
We met in C.
We met in C, and then we met,
it was D.
Yeah, and then we added Jonny.
We were in the classroom where we had to take our shoes off every time.
Yeah, that was interesting. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm excited to hear about the van life.
I'm back in Chicago, which is it feels like. So my husband Matt and I were gone for 3.5 months. We got back like a month ago.
Wow.
Whoa, okay, let me tell you this. We got back after getting COVID, and we came back.
Let's
be honest about what happened.
So how long were you gone for?
We were gone for 3.5 months.
3.5 months, and then you guys got COVID within that 3.5 months?
Yep, right at the end.
Where were you in your travels when you got it?
Okay, here's the deal. We were like mostly down south. And like we went through like Florida and Texas and like every place where nobody wears a mask, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Then, like we met up with some Chicago friends in Moab. For like
been there, great spot.
Stuff only, like camping and hiking, and all of us got it.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
we all
I was
the same tree, Jackson. That was
that'll do it.
Yeah. Right. So you were saying you went to Texas, Florida, Utah, and I saw you went to the Switzerland of America. Can you tell us? No, I know nothing about it. I just know that you went there, so I'm curious to A, where it actually is, and B, what it's like.
Well, this is a great pickup point for getting COVID. So we went to the Switzerland of America, which is Ouray, Colorado. Never had been before. It's really beautiful. It's like all they call it the Switzerland of America because all the peaks are very pointed, where a lot of the other peaks in Colorado are very like rounded off.
Oh, okay.
So it's got that kind of like Alps sort of look. And we got there. We're like, this is beautiful. And it's like, there's still snow all around us. And like, we go and have a beer and we're like, okay, it's time to find the camping for the night. And we're like, we'll explore this place tomorrow. And you guys, so like, we try to do like a lot of like BLM land, which is like, you guys know what that is? It's like free camping, basically.
Yeah.
Land management. And we got this spot and we had to like go up this like mountainside, and it started to be more and more snow as we went up, and the tracks kept getting deeper and deeper, and we got to a point where we were like, fuck, like we couldn't turn around and the snow was getting so deep, like we're gonna be stuck here. And so we reversed down the mountainside like through these tracks. It was terrifying. And then we ended up like driving like a half an hour like around this like there's just like no guardrail sort of mountainscape, and like end up like camping in this snowy area. And that's when my husband woke up in the middle of the night barfing because it was his first night of like COVID symptoms.
Oh my God.
We're like out in the middle of nowhere. He's like, I feel awful. He's like throwing up in the middle of the night. And
so he got like the worst of it, like the worst of the COVID symptoms that you could have.
Yeah, and it was all that like that first, like as soon as it came on, it was the worst for him.
Oh, that's terrible.
Like a gradual, like, I don't think I can breathe very well sort of thing. And, he was like classic flu sick while we were in Ouray. But Ouray's beautiful. We left the next day because we were like, shit, let's go get tested for COVID.
I lived in Colorado for like a year-ish, and then I dated a girl from there. So I've been there a ton, and that's like driving from, it was Fort Collins, Colorado, if you've been there.
No, I haven't.
Ooh,
I meant to go this past trip, but
you know, you and your husband for sure. But it's like driving that route to Moab and like just all the mountains and going through the mountains was insane. I love Colorado.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just like, you know, we came out of Moab, which was like so like alien. It feels like we're on a different planet. And our whole reaction the whole time we were there is like everybody who's like, oh yeah, go to Moab. It's pretty. Like, it doesn't matter what picture they say or how emphatically they tell you, you won't get it until you see it.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Staggering.
The Red Arch or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, like that's insane. And then it's so big. I took videos. I would put videos on my dashboard of me just driving around the mountains because it's so insane. It really paints a picture.
And you think like everything you see, you're like, oh, I got to get a picture of that. And then like, I got to get a picture of that. And then like you look at the pictures while you're there, and you're like, this doesn't explain it.
Not at all. Not at all. I want to actually travel back though to like the idea of the van, because I'm guessing you and your husband were sitting down one night and like one of you had an idea, or have you guys been talking about it for a while? And then I'm also curious how like you mapped out your destinations that you want to go to too, because this is an idea that everyone like wants to do. This is an idea that everyone wants to do, and it's cool that you actually did it.
We're kind of surprised we did it. You like know how everyone's got this experience this past year of like the pandemic of like just kind of shaking things up in your life.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, oh, maybe there's more options on the table than I thought, or like, like, why don't I just go do something different?
Yeah.
So like we'd like, you know, like probably a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it'd be really fun to like renovate a van and travel. I think other people are having that conversation. I don't know.
I've thought about it like 100.
I was actually just talking to my dentist, and my dentist was just bought a VW Bug. That's why I was like, no way. I was like, I'm gonna have to send you this episode of the podcast. I'm literally talking to one of my friends that did this. He, you know, it's just
You're
crazy.
Living the dream.
So many people are like recently alone, I've heard, you know, like even my sister was like, one day I want to go do that. I was like, oh my God, everyone around me is traveling and wants to do that. That's awesome. And I was like, I'll start a podcast.
Just a side note here. I want to tell on myself. I haven't been to the dentist in like 15 years.
Oh, this was my first time at the dentist in like 8. So you're good. You're so okay. You don't? Oh, I had a lot. I didn't have insurance for a while. So that was why, I mean, it was like it was about 8 years. And I was like, she walks in, she's like, you haven't seen a dentist in 8 years? I was like, does it look like I haven't seen a dentist in 8 years? She's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, we're here now. So like, let's see what we can do. Right. Yeah. I don't even know what I did. And I drank a smoothie right before I go in too. She's like, did you have something green? I was like, I thought the smoothie was going to fly under the radar. You know?
Exactly. Jackson is like surprised that he didn't do what like 99% of the rest of the population does before they go to the dentist. They like don't eat anything and they brush the hell out of their teeth for 20 minutes.
No, but brushing your teeth before the dentist is like cleaning the house before the cleaning lady gets there.
No,
you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
It's showing respect for the dentist. You're like, I'm not going to show up to you.
Jackson, I want to say this. It's not cleaning the house if the cleaning lady is coming. Here's the more apt analogy. There's a little poop on the toilet and you wipe it off.
Yes.
That's okay. I'll take that. That is fair.
House, just wipe off the poop.
Yeah, just wipe off the poop off the toilet seat. Got it.
Oh my God, exactly.
I love that the analogy in my mouth's a toilet seat.
I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome.
So we had talked about it forever, and then it was just kind of like became this thing of like, why don't we try to get a van? And then like after a lot of searching, we got a van, and I wasn't working much, so I spent like 2 months straight just like going to town on renovating it, and never had any sort of experience like doing a build out before of any sort. And so like it was a lot of first, including
was it just YouTube video after YouTube video?
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. There's a bunch of like information out there, but it's also like it's too much information. You know what I mean? You have a lot
like there's too many options.
There's too many options. You have a lot of amateur people saying like how they did it, and you're like, I don't know which one's the best option of like, it's like thank you for the free information, but there's so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they just need one centralized place to like, hey, how do you do this one thing?
Yeah, who's
like
the best video on that?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be great if they narrowed it down. If YouTube was like, hey, we know there's a lot of stuff out there, but this one's the one.
Jerry did it right.
Yeah, Jerry really killed it. And but yeah, I mean that just sounds so much fun, like just having that side like project to like even working on the van, building it up how you want it. I mean, that was kind of what we did with the studio.
Right.
So like that.
Yeah, this is what we came up with.
Yeah.
If you were curious, like, because we were in the same boat. We were like, what the hell? Like, we have to do something.
Yeah, instead of sitting around.
So so like this is our podcast, and then like every Sunday night we have a show at 8:00, and like we do this, like we just talk live on YouTube for like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's so cool, you guys! What a fun project.
So
yeah. So we don't understand the people that like listen to us on the Sunday show though, because it's literally just us like shooting the shit, talking about what happened during the week and stuff like that.
Like when you don't brush before going to the dentist.
Yeah, like different random stories like that.
Stories now.
Yeah, so we're like, I mean, someone listens.
yeah,
Man,
people are.
Before I hopped on today, I listened to I think it was your last guest, and I'm gonna forget his name, but he was does a lot of like business meetups.
Tony P.
Tony Palella.
Yeah, Tony Palella.
Oh, you guys are killing it.
Well,
yeah, he's a good friend of. He threw my 21st birthday party. That was like his networking event.
Yeah, he got it sponsored by who?
Grey Goose. So like the Grey Goose girls were there. They were handing me shots. I was like, I don't know if I can ever have another birthday party. Like this 21. Is so cool. But yeah.
All right. So
what a great episode. Also, like you guys are killing it. Like such like cool guests, but also like you guys like the way you kind of like mine your guests for like content and like you're like it just feels so like in depth and authentic. It's really cool.
Well, thank you. Like
thank you. That was like the one thing that we keep coming back to is like we want everything to just be like authentic.
We don't want to bullshit. Like we are, yeah. Like this is. I mean, that's your podcast too, though. And I love the idea of your podcast because you truly just interview people that you think you can learn something from. That they're just like they're an interesting person, or you've come across them in your life, and what was the guy's name? The last podcast. I'm gonna mess up his last name too.
Willuera, I believe.
Yeah, because you're like, do I pronounce the L or not or whatever? Yeah. But just listening to that and like two improv minds go to work, I was just like, oh my god, I miss being on stage so much. Like this is crazy.
You know what? Here's the thing too, though. Like, isn't this like that you guys are doing this podcast? Isn't this like a cool like creative outlet? It's
what like it was the idea. Like it was just like we got to do something and. Like there's been talks of trying to figure out how to get improv on here. Like we want to like just interview like characters for like 10 minutes, just someone completely like acting as someone else for 10 minutes and then just continue on with life. Like,
well, yeah. And that's kind of like we'd started doing some more sketches that we release on the YouTube channel and stuff like that. So we've been trying to incorporate more improv sketch stuff that we, did. He's more improv than I am these days. I'm always like, where do we want it to go though? Like where? And he's like, wherever it goes. And I'm like, right, yeah, I know. But and I, just being in COVID for that long. Right, yeah. I'm like trying to. Well, and because there are a couple that we do script, like just sketches that we're doing. But then there's a couple where like we just pulled out a camera and like went, So it's cool. I mean, we do a little bit of both, but yeah, it's just COVID was crazy. You taught online improv though during the pandemic, right?
Sure have been. Yeah.
So how was that?
From a teacher's perspective, I'm beyond curious.
I guess it's like anything. It's like I'd rather do it in person.
Right.
In lieu of being able to not do it in person, it works like well enough to be like pretty fun and like get to do something silly and connect with people. I would say like every time after I'm done, I'm like, oh cool, I'm glad I did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes like online stuff, like you're like, okay, oh yeah, I open the computer and then like you do it and then you're like, oh no, this is like worth it. Well, at least that's how it's been for me with comedy stuff. But obviously, you know, if someone's like, hey, we could all be in person, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That'd be.
I did teach an in-person class this past week with masks on, and it's my preference to do it online and see each other's faces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would have to see, because I've seen a couple live shows, like high school performances and stuff, for my sister. Okay. And she like, but they were all wearing masks on stage, and I'm like, that kind of like at least do the face shields. You know what I mean? Because like these kids are spending like 3 months together prepping a show, so it's like, I don't know the safest way to do it. I mean, there's a vaccine now, but I mean, besides that, it's like wearing the face shields. I was like, at least you can see the facial expressions, which is like the live show.
I was gonna say, from someone who's never done it, like I feel like being able to improv is pretty important to see the other person's facial expressions.
That's a great instinct.
Yeah.
Yes.
See your eyes. You're like, are you frowning or are you crying? What's happening?
Yeah.
That's
like
exactly
pretty much all the information, right, comes out of you.
Yeah.
Emotion wise and like.
Well, just like riding public transit or anything, like everyone looks angry all the time now. It's like I can't tell. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like Elf walking into the mailroom.
This class, like, you know, everyone's nervous on your first day of like an improv class, right?
Oh yeah.
But like going into it and only seeing just like their eyes, like they just looked so scared. I was like, you know, because like usually someone might like smile and they're not laughing, but at least they're smiling. It's like I didn't see that. I just eyes, just like wide open eyes.
So okay. So this kind of reminds me when you were talking to your last guest. I'm so bad, Luella. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But he was talking about. You guys were talking about just as teachers from a perspective. You're like, oh, like, gosh, I hope my students had fun that class. And then like one instance, I think they were talking to him. They're like, yeah, I was losing sleep because I kept thinking about what I could have done in scenes and whatnot. So like you have an emotional toll already just as a teacher, but I didn't think about what that perspective would be when you can only see their eyeballs. Like you really don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah. And I think that like, well, I don't know. I feel like some ownership of like, I'm like here to make it a fun time for people. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just like, here's the technical exercises. If it's fun for you, it's fun. You know, like it's got some of the same elements of like being in a show, right? Where like you want to make it fun for the audience, right?
Right.
For people. And like, you know, you can walk away from a class feeling like something bombed just as much as you could walk off stage and feel like you had a show that bombed. Like, oh.
For sure. For sure.
No, I agree completely, because like even like I completely feel that anxiety over like, oh dude, I totally could have done this and this and this and this and this, and it's like that whole like woulda, coulda, shoulda in your brain that you're just like running over it constantly, when it's like improv is in the moment. You know what I mean? Like whatever came of it, I was always happy with the outcome. I was never like, oh, that, you know, like even if it bombed, I was like, we bombed together, guys.
And it's
That's what it's about.
It's so easy to think about what like you could have done too, though. And you're talking about this in your podcast, and I want you to highlight on it. What, in the aspects of failure, what do you think improv can teach like an individual?
As far as failure goes?
Yeah, like learning from failure, I guess.
Oh man, just getting comfortable with it. I always talk about how like I think I've been doing improv for about 15 years. And my first 4 or 5 years, maybe 4 years, I was in Michigan and I was doing it out of a local theater. And the guy who was running it didn't give us notes, which maybe it just like felt like, you know, we're all learning this together. So that's just not what it was going to be. But like, you know, The first 4 years was like really just like I have like nothing to grasp onto except for I'm going to try stuff in front of an audience and see how it goes. And like I learned a heck of a lot about failing.
Oh
and
my God.
About being comfortable failing. You know what I mean? Which is huge.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, like, oh wow. I mean, like, we were super lucky to have like, started doing stuff at the Second City. And,
yeah, for sure.
And like because like we had so many people that were like, oh, this is how it's done. You know, like and like the as soon as we started performing in C, they were like, oh, for a show, like this is what you do, all this stuff, X, Y, and Z, and they kind of gave you the formula to like doing it right, and then they were like everything else is just being comfortable failing.
We were beyond lucky because we weren't just thrown on stage like Johnny was. That's crazy. So you just kind of had to figure it out, and they're like, yeah, like keep doing this or keep doing that.
Yeah, all we learned is like technically like what the gimmick of the game was.
Yes, and
we didn't receive like notes or feedback, which like that's not blaming anyone. It's just like that's what the experience was, but it was kind of retroactively. It was like, oh man, like I did learn a lot from that. Like I learned a lot, and then I think I was so primed, you guys, because I'd done it for 4 years. So I was like, this is like pretty fun, and then like to come to Chicago, and like people be like just spewing all this like in depth, like even sometimes like very nuanced, like kind of like knowledge about improv, and I was like, oh my God, there's like something you can kind of grasp onto, right? But ultimately too, like once you kind of get some of those like guideline things too, like you don't want those front and center in your brain, right? You want those to drift to the back anyways and like kind of forget them. But
yeah, I mean, just I remember like my first day of level A was just so like I felt like I was like, I feel like this is very like vague overview of improv that like it was nothing like super duper specific, and it was just like the games and stuff. And I was like, I like the games, but like I hated the singing ones. Like that was my downfall.
That was the first game I had to do, and I hate singing too. And that was the moment though. I was just like, all right, like I'm doing this, like I'm jumping into it, and I freaking I don't know. I sang like Rihanna or hips can't lie or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think Johnny made us sing.
No, because in level D you don't gotta worry about it. no, it wasn't.
No, we did.
Many scenes I've like sang a Christmas song, and it's a go-to for me.
Just because they're right there in the front of your mind. You're
Christmas,
like,
and it
absolutely
never feels like it's the wrong time of year.
Oh, never.
For sure. Well, I mean, when caroling comes with a holiday, like it's fine to sing, but if someone's caroling in your front yard and it's I don't know.
July.
Yeah, the 4th of July.
Like fireworks are going off and they're like, deck the halls with, and you're like, what is happening?
Is Christmas the most like musical holiday?
It has to be.
It's gotta be.
Like there's so many songs for it, and there's like you get together with people and sing, and yeah, there's caroling. Like,
do you think Christmas or Halloween has the most like movies?
Christmas. Right?
Christmas for sure.
I wasn't allowed to celebrate Halloween as a kid. So
no.
What? You got to talk about that. Like, how is that? Like, would you just be like, kids would be talking about it and you'd be like, I don't know, dude.
I'm not allowed to talk about it. So I like our church had like an alternative option for like parents to bring their kids to, and it was like a fun night that was like,
so just like a party
and, like climbing obstacle courses and stuff, but it didn't involve us worshiping the devil, so it was a better option.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I mean, I know like I grew up with kids that would be like, oh, I can't read Harry Potter books, or I can't like and things like that, but I mean like I felt like Halloween, they would just I know their parents would monitor how they dressed, you know, and did things like that, you know what I mean, like you're gonna be like something real lighthearted and not, you know, satanic or like I feel I don't know where I was going with that, but it was just like I don't know, that's just so crazy because I like Halloween, I was like free candy, let's go everybody.
You guys, where does Halloween fall in your hierarchy of like favorite holidays? Because for me it's like because it was absent from my life as a kid. And I never really connected to it, you know?
Yeah.
So is it not up there? Like, do you like it now?
No, it's real low.
Oh, you don't even care.
I don't know. I
It's
think
not in my top 3.
Michael, was it higher and did it fall as like you like got older because you couldn't go on a trick or treat?
That and just Central Illinois was usually cold, like too cold around Halloween. So like,
That's super true.
There were some good Halloweens, but I also remember just freezing my ass off in like something.
because you don't want to wear a jacket. You can't wear a
right.
jacket over your costume as a kid.
What's the point of the
Yeah,
costume?
like now I'm a T-Rex with a freaking coat on.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
and well, you also had to decide your costume on if it was going to be 35 degrees or 75. So that just sucked.
I would say
T-Rex, right?
right. Yeah,
Right.
I would say Christmas is probably my number 1, but number 2 was for the longest time, and it probably bounces between that and St. Patty's Day. Now that I'm going to bars and stuff.
Bars?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Adults.
I dabble.
Barely.
But it was Halloween. I remember there was one year I went out like 6 different times with 6 different costumes. I kept coming back and I would
What the hell?
switch costumes.
Why?
You get more candy.
You guys
It's called
are different
determination.
God. Jeez.
Yeah.
I feel very like Easter candy, hands down, the best candy of the year.
Really?
I would agree that the egg Reese's are better than like the bat shaped Reese's. I agree.
So, and there's so many things that you can only exclusively get during Easter time. I feel like Halloween candy, it's like a lot of the same candy that you would get with Halloween packaging.
It just depends what.
I'm thinking about that from a non-religious perspective because my mom is super Catholic. So like she's full on Easter, like, let's go, baby Jesus is coming. And it's funny that like in different minds that are just like, oh, like Walgreens is going to have those good Reese eggs coming or like whatever. Like that's what they're looking forward to.
Okay. I have to give you guys this little like Easter candy secret. So a couple years ago, my friend introduced me to this. Get a bunch of those Peeps, those little like marshmallow birds.
Yeah.
At the end of the season when they're cheap, and hold on to them for campfire season because they're amazing over a campfire. That sugar coating, it gets like glued and like a crust.
Oh, that's a pro tip.
That's
amazing.
So good. And then here's the one caveat: just be like super careful because it is like molten, on the outside.
Oh yeah,
right.
Like it's not like if you put a marshmallow in your mouth a little too early, it's like it's a different thing than this. This is like
candy sugar
it's like
sticks to your tongue while it's on fire.
Yeah, it's still like it's all just part of your mouth now.
Yeah.
Like
I'm guessing you guys camped a lot in your travels throughout the US. Like where were some cool spots you hit?
Well, it's interesting because we would have loved for it to be more camping stuff, but it wasn't really like just straight up vacation for us. Even though like it had a lot of nice elements of like outside Chicago and traveling. Don't get me wrong, but so I was teaching online and Matt was going and playing his cello and busking and like getting some gigs occasionally too. And so like we always tried to stay around like city centers, which kind of got us like really like particular about what sort of cities we wanted to be in, as far as like did it like kind of meet the need of like being outdoorsy, have like good access to stuff, like didn't feel too spread out, like had an area where Matt felt like he could go busk and play cello. So we ended up like spending a lot of time in Austin, which we love and potentially want to move there now.
We've talked about that too. I've never been. Literally heard only good things though.
Yeah.
I have to. We all have to stop talking about it though, so people don't go there.
Right.
It's horrible, shit, terrible. Worst city I've ever been to.
Yeah. So it's really nice. It's like a really good sized city, and then there's a lot of outdoor stuff to do, which like Chicago is like
there ain't nothing here.
That
Yeah.
unless you really use the heck out of the lake.
Yeah, or the parks or anything like that. Like I don't think I've been to one park, and I've lived here for going on 2 years.
Because I know you're a big biker. You can't take like your mountain bike to a goddamn park around here. Somebody would look at you like, "What are you doing?" I feel like.
Yeah, I bike. I mountain bike again. I got a mountain bike on this trip, and I rock climb. Those are all things that like
you can't do in Chicago.
It might be frowned upon.
Yeah.
You could scale buildings. I think that's the equivalent of like Chicago for rock climbing.
Bouldering, excuse me. But yeah, like in Chicago, it's indoor climbing or 3.5 hours to Wisconsin Devil Lake for a limited amount of climbing, or like 7.5 hours to Kentucky for like world-class climbing.
Wow.
Kentucky's nice.
Jeez, yeah, the bourbon there is great.
It is interesting. I have a lot of family from Kentucky, Texas, and Tennessee. So that's like all the family reunions are either Kentucky or Tennessee. Yeah. So
it's so funny, like going through the U.S., like how like diverse and different this like country is. Like New Orleans doesn't even feel like it's like it's weird that it's like, oh, this is part of the U.S. And then like you go to like what's that?
No. I'm Tom Segura has a joke about the people from Louisiana. He's like, does everybody know they exist?
like yeah, I just think that it's crazy how much the accents differ from location to location, because you're like, some of these aren't that far from each other and they have such different accents. Like,
Jackson, do you know what I think they call it Texas Deutsch is?
No.
So it's well, you know how like Amish tend to like speak, like a lot of them will speak German?
Yeah.
Well, it's like no longer true German anymore because they've been like in their own, like it's like it becomes its own thing, Well, there's a Texas hub of like, I think they're kind of like a little bit more like Amish people. Like I saw them like wearing dresses and like like jean dresses and that sort of aesthetic that you see from like Amish or Mennonites maybe.
Yeah.
But they speak German, but they're all Texan. Just for the longest time, like I had like a character that was like this like woman who just like learned German and like spoke it with like the most like Texas accent, and I would just speak like German, stuff like straight up like Southern.
They feel like such competing. That's insane. That feels like just such competing accents, or dialects. Like where you're like, yeah.
What a matchup!
Oh wow, that's insane. I need to go to Texas. I need to see these with my own eyes.
I'm going there in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, you are.
I got asked to officiate a wedding.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm terrified.
Are you gonna do it as yourself or someone else?
I would much prefer to improvise the whole thing. That's for sure. I would absolutely love to improvise it.
And he
did you give the couple a caveat of like, hey, you know what you're getting yourself into by picking me?
Pretty much, to be honest.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and when I found out that he had to get ordained, I was like, it can't like be that hard if he's gonna do it. Like I'm gonna like go on my computer, and I was like, how to get ordained, and I was like, click, click, click. I'm like, oh, they're also sending me mine in a week, so like I can ordain, I can perform a wedding ceremony too. And I told that to my mom yesterday on the phone. I was like, yeah, hey, I got ordained. Because her and I, my family, we had to go to a wedding too. And he was like, oh, she's like, you did? When did you do that? I was like, well, Michael had to do it. So I was just there. I figured I'd do it. Just get it out of the way. So
Michael did it, so I did it.
Yeah, really. I was like bored sitting at my computer. I was like, whatever, let's do it. So, but yeah, definitely worth it. I feel it closer to God. It says I'm a man of God on the card. So got that going for me. Yeah, it says like, I don't know. Oh, it's right here.
You should be busy around Easter time.
Just in case I need it.
I do. I always pull it out when they ask for my ID at a bar, and I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one, but I'm a man of God. Oh, it just says ordained by the Universal Life Church Ministries.
Yeah.
So, but kind of
What
a
else
man
can you
again.
do? I think there's something else you could do too. Like, can you like do funerals or something, or like?
I'm not improvising that one.
Yeah, what a bummer. I don't know if I would offer my services.
He
for a
was
funeral.
probably a good man.
I'm like the last person you want at a funeral if I didn't
Make
know
up
the
a
person.
character for that person.
Yes. You could have it be a Texan with a German accent, or vice versa.
Yeah,
Well-
for this funeral, I'm gonna need a suggestion of anything at all.
Yeah, let's get this funeral kicked off with a good suggestion of a location.
Yeah.
Where are we? Someone's like, a funeral. I'm like, great. Okay, let's go.
You know, as you do like comedy at like, you start to do like weirder and different venues at times. You start to learn like, oh, there's some mandatory things that need to be in place for like this to go well. And some of my friends learned that the hard way by trying to do improv at a wedding.
Oh boy.
They asked them to do it at the reception, I guess. And like they said, like everyone was just like so annoyed and wanted them to stop talking. They like literally ran out of the wedding with their like heads down. It was the worst show we ever had.
Did they get paid for it?
Oh, I think they did it for a friend, so probably not. As with
Ooh.
most improv, right?
As with most improv,
Yeah.
I was like, no, no one really makes money, doing improv unless you're teaching it like Johnny. You're passing along teachings,
Oh,
and I think
I'm
that's
doing it for free.
you're doing it for free.
I'm kidding, man.
It's all free. I was like, wow. I'm like, oh, even when you get to that level too, huh?
Yeah, improv is not a lucrative, endeavor, but it's definitely very valuable and like trains you for things where you could potentially get like paid and stuff. But
Oh yeah.
if you're just focusing on trying to get money from improv, that's
So you taught internationally? Was it in Europe?
wait. Can you say that again?
You taught internationally? Was it in Europe?
Oh, I thought you said Utah internationally. Yeah, I did. So it was just kind of like. So we went there for our honeymoon, and I was just like, let's see if we can stay a little longer, and I'll offer some workshops. And it was Brussels and Oslo, Antwerp. In Copenhagen. Wait, not Copenhagen.
Copenhagen's
Amsterdam. Copenhagen's cool. We went to Copenhagen. Yeah, and man, improv in Europe's a different animal too. It's very interesting to see it. Like,
yeah.
yeah. Have you seen improv that's like a European? It's completely different.
No, I couldn't imagine. But you were talking about it on your last episode because it was a group of it was an improv group because he was Team USA and
Will was.
yeah, and like a team from Puerto Rico or something came in and like blew away like the crowd with their energy, and there's like, holy crap, like it's so different like per culture.
It's kind of cool though too, because it's like as like festivals and things happen, you can kind of get like a mixture of like, oh man, like we're thinking in the box too much because we've seen it done one way, and I think I want to say like France or somewhere, it's like more akin to like almost like clowning or something like that.
Really?
And then a lot of the theaters I was at in Europe, it felt more like they were trying to emulate actual like theater, like straight theater. Whereas I think that we in the U.S. try to emulate sketch comedy more than we do. Like,
that makes sense.
try to
Yeah.
recreate a play.
That makes sense. Have you improvised yet? Like, because I know you're a part of True Bangers at RIP.io.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. That's awful. How long were you guys going there?
What's that, Michael?
How long were you guys running there before they closed?
I was on that team for, I don't know, maybe 2 years.
Damn.
I was on a team for like 3.5 or 4 years before that, and another team for 3.5 or 4 years before that. But yeah, I've done just a tiny bit online. A fun thing that I did is I was teaching like privately or independently, like a group of kids that were all like maybe junior high or something. And I was teaching them long form, and for the last day, we had like a bunch of like adult performers, like friends of mine, come in and perform with them, and that was kind of a hoot.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be
Like
cool.
we
Yeah,
just
that's
jammed.
awesome.
But like those kids are so fucking funny, and like some of them are so sick, and it's just like, I don't know. It was pretty fun. I think all the adults who came to were like super tickled, like to see like these kids' sense of humor, because like some of these kids are hilarious.
I feel like kids more are just like, I'm going for it. Like, I don't care. They don't care what anybody thinks in the room. Us adults are way too in our heads. We're like, I don't know. Like, we're bouncing around. Kids are just like, screw it.
Well, think about it. You don't think about the things that you're going to say when you're a kid. You just say things, and then your parents go, oh, you shouldn't say that, you know? And it's like, oh, that might offend someone or that, or, you know, like something like that. It's like, and it might be the most simplest, you know, thing, but they're just, oh, well, we should, you know, like sometimes we'll be overly like, and you don't get that way until a certain time when you're like, oh, there are some things that some people don't like when you say. And it's like, but when you're a kid, you're like, I'll just say shit until someone says not say shit.
You get a little safety net too as a kid, right? Because like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like cute. It's like, oh, we'll let that slide, you know?
No, it's adorable. He means fire truck. It's okay. Like, I
taught at Second City for 7 or 8 years. And there's a student I have who's probably like 15, 16, somewhere in that age group, and he's had classes with me since I've started.
Oh my god!
He's been doing improv for 7 or 8 years.
Wow!
And he's how old?
Comedy and stuff. He's probably like younger high school age, I think.
Oh, wow!
Wow, that kid's gonna be something.
Yeah, that kid's gonna be.
That's
hilarious.
awesome. I'm jealous.
But it's funny because these kids like while I'm like the director for like a sketch show that they write, and like they come in with funny scripts, like, and they get done with the script and you talk about it, about like punching up the scene and making it like better, and like they're like, oh yeah, they're like throwing out these other ideas, and like it's like cool. They know how to like work a scene, and like it's very interesting.
That's crazy because they're probably better than us.
I was gonna say, do they want to come over?
Yeah, we're looking for new additions to the team. So
we got a bunch of middle schoolers.
Yeah, we're like,
they got an 8 o'clock bedtime, but
it's okay. So does Sunny.
That's true.
So, but I wouldn't mind having hilarious middle schoolers because they wouldn't be, they have that.
Explain that to the judge.
I'm like, the judge. They're like, you do a podcast with middle schoolers? Like regularly.
Basement?
We do it regularly. We do it all the time. Yeah, they're great. They're great kids. Yeah.
Johnny, I've been seeing you take some drinks out of a mug. Did you happen to make it?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, this is oh gosh, find the camera here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, very nice. How long have you been
Look at those
doing
drips.
pottery?
I started doing pottery like a few years ago, and I've kind of just done it off and on. It was like I've kind of always wanted to try it, and then there was like a trip to I took like a trip with my husband, and I was like, on this trip I want to like figure out something. In that trip, I was like, when I get back, I'm gonna do pottery, and so.
Yeah, I'm thinking about starting a class. My wife has been doing it for a couple of years. So
where did she take class?
Oh man, what's it called? No, it's across. What is that street? It's across the street from Home Depot and Guitar Center.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'll find out the road.
By Vinny's here.
Yeah, same road.
It's in Lakeview then, I think, according to my math right now. It's like Lakeview East-ish.
I have no idea.
It's the pottery place. I don't know. I'm going off only by the road that he's saying.
I don't think I've ever done pottery.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm trying to think.
Halstead.
I don't think so.
Sure. There's a couple years there where I was like
completely blacked out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was my sophomore year of high school. But Is when I discovered. Yeah, is when I discovered cannabis.
Thing, you know?
Yeah.
Well, because you do that and you garden.
Yeah, you guys, we just put our garden in yesterday, and today we're working on getting stuff in. It's so fun.
What are you growing? I used to grow with my dad, like when I was, I don't know, 8, 9. Like he had a mini garden on the side of his house, and it was so fun. We would grow amazing ass strawberries.
It's like, honestly, like it's like every single morning I run out to the garden. how things have grown. It's so exciting. So like we're doing a ton of tomatoes this year. We've got like a bunch of raspberry bushes. We have a blueberry bush, but it's gonna give us like 3 blueberries. We're doing kale, chamomile, cucumbers, peppers, beans, green beans, hops. I got a hop plant.
What?
That's
Last year I
awesome.
started brewing beer.
Oh
Holy
my god!
shit.
What kind?
So fun. I've only brewed like 5 batches. I did kind of like, I guess it would be like a hazy juicy IPA was my first one.
Favorite?
Yeah, those are good.
Oh, you guys, I'll brew one soon and I'll have you guys over.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Like I was very shocked. Like it was like it came out really stinking good. I was just like, this is cool. Like I didn't know like without much knowledge you could brew like a really drinkable beer.
Okay, so did you get like one of those home brewing kits and you just like started putting it together that way, or?
Yeah, so I do the one I do is like all grain. So rather than like start from the malt extract, like you take the grains and like basically it's like in a giant tea bag. You steep it on the stovetop, and like obviously there's more to it than that, but you're extracting the sugars like from the actual grains.
Wow.
The whole process from like start to finish is like probably about minimum time about 3 weeks.
That's not.
Damn, that's you dedicated yourself. No, because you see those kids and it's like, yeah, dude, in like 6 hours. Like that's.
Yeah, my neighbor
bullshit.
got one of those.
Bullshit for like quality beer, because it sounds like your beer is a legitimate.
I've gotten like lucky with a couple batches. I haven't had any like terrible beers. I had one that I was like, like this is drinkable, but if I was at a bar, I wouldn't have like ordered another one of them. You know.
Gotcha.
That was
I had a neighbor that was doing it once, and he brought it over, and we were like, "Is it good?" He's like, "No, that's why I brought it over." And I took a sip, and as I'm sipping it, he goes, "It tastes like beef jerky," and I was like, "Okay." And I like take a sip. It tasted like Jack Links. It was insane. I was like, "This is like if I were to like just breathe in the bag, you know, like if you just." And I was like, "That is literally what it tastes like." I was like, "I don't even know how you did it." Like, and honestly, I was kind of disgusted how much I kind of liked it. I was like, I like beef jerky a lot, so I was like,
I love beef jerky.
Right.
So it
It
did taste good, but I was like, it tasted like there was a lot of sodium, just like beef jerky tastes.
I would have packed it up and traveled to Jack Link's right away and be like, I made you a beer. Give me $1 million right now, and you can have the recipe and everything.
Well, you guys, what's the weirdest beer you've tried aside from that? Because I've had like a peanut butter beer before, and I was like, this is good for like 1 or 2 sips, and then I'm out. I
had a butterscotch one that was kind of like that. It was very syrupy,
Okay.
but yeah, again, very like one. Yeah, it was like a dessert beer, you know. Yeah, a little tiny. Yeah.
I had like a peanut butter and jelly beer. That was weird. It's where like, yeah, I'm good with one. And there's a lot more peanut butter than jelly.
Big mistake.
Right.
Big mistake.
Right. Yeah. Tyler.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm kind of a beer snob coming from Northern California, so I've had a lot of them. But peanut butter and jelly is probably one of the weirdest ones. Yeah. But mine was actually pretty good, but that might just be me. I also love peanut butter stouts and peanut butter beer, so I think that's just...
Have you guys had a smoked beer?
No.
No, I wish.
Actually, this is sitting right next to me. This is, oh God, I'll show you. So this is from a city in Bamberg. This brewery and this brewery right here. Schlenkerla and oh god, what's the other one called? Spezial. They do a roasted beer that has like the flavor of like a little bit of like pork in it.
Whoa!
What?
Oh wow.
Especially the Schlenkerla. It's like I don't know what they roast it with, but it's very, very smoky. It's very smoky and it's got like some like. So as far as beef jerky goes, like it does taste porky and it's very interesting. But they're famous for those beers, and now there's some places like in town. Dovetail is doing a Rauch beer, smoked beer.
Okay.
So you could try one out there, or I've even seen this at specialty beer stores. The Schlenkerla, they have it's a punch in the mouth of smoke and like a little bit porky.
There's
down to try it.
There's also like Oreo beers. Like it's not Oreo exactly, but it's like cookies and cream beers. And I was like, ooh, that would be good if obviously it was made or hit my satisfactions and my taste buds. But it'd probably be one where it's like, yeah, I only need one. Like I'm not gonna drink 6 of those. I couldn't walk.
Yeah. I mean I like Guinness and things like that, like the porters and stouts, but I gotta be careful with stouts because a lot of them are milk based. So I'm very anti-milk. I try to be, but like milk's in everything. You can't avoid.
There's milk in like
some of them. Some of them are like milk stouts. Like,
There's
yeah, I'm like lactose.
There's also. Have you ever heard of a milkshake IPA?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty good. Those definitely have dairy products in it.
Right.
Yeah, they got that lactose in there, whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's so like it's been like I'm jonesing to brew another batch. It's kind of an all day affair, but it's been so fun. Like I did that hazy. I did an American wheat, so kind of like somewhere between like an Oberon and a Gumball head, and I did a Hefeweizen, which like turned out pretty solid. Oh, and then the hops I grew. I did a fresh hopped beer. So what do they call that? I forget. There's like a name.
I have no idea.
Most of the hops are dried by the time they're in your beer.
Oh, so like this one was like you like harvested them and then like included them in there, so it wasn't just like dried out. Yeah,
that's what it is.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, because then you get some oils and stuff that you wouldn't normally get in a dried hop beer.
Right.
The shelf life of it is like a lot shorter. Turned out.
Oh yeah.
You did I think you've done 2 episodes of where you bike and then you get like a brew. Because you went to a brewery and a coffee. Yeah, I'm wondering when episode 3's coming.
It's not. I decided like some people like as we were going on this trip, people were like, oh yeah, you're gonna vlog or you're gonna blah blah blah, and like Matt and I did that like a couple trips, and then we fucking hated it.
Just like we just like go ahead.
It's just like I don't know. It feels like such bullshit.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I was like,
I'll watch some people who have like a vlog. Like I watch some mountain bikers, and I like it. I'm very invested in it. But like it's just the fact of like right now we're just like being ourselves, talking to each other, blah blah blah, right? And it's like
right.
Cool, we're talking about things we care about and we're interested in. But there's something different about like pulling out your camera and being somewhere with other people and being like, now I'm gonna talk to this. Like, no, let's do another take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels awful. It feels disgusting.
Did you just feel like you were like bullshitting your experience? You're like, yeah, this is great, but like I don't need to like.
Well, it feels like you're kind of wrecking your experience.
Gotcha.
Because like you know what I mean, like
I know
like
exactly what you mean.
It's like do it for the gram, sort of like feel. It's like I'm doing this to make a video. It's like no, I'm not.
Right.
Like, so I want to sacrifice this experience, and like, yeah.
But I mean, everybody does that. Like you're at a concert, everybody has their phones out, and I'm 100% on team. Like put your phone down.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, same.
Like you're here. You don't need to record it.
Well, and I thought what you were going to say was that, like, you were like, well, once you get off the bike and go have a beer, you're not going to want to get back on the bike. Like, I was like, I couldn't, like, I would be like, well, what do I do with this bike now? You know, like, if I went and rode a bike to go get a beer, like, I don't own a bike in the city. I just use Divvy. for that purpose. Like if I'm gonna go drink a beer,
Yeah.
I'm not riding a bike after that. No, I'm too bloated. I feel gross. I'm not gonna do it. I'm like,
I love being on a bike, and I also like. I feel pretty comfortable and confident, like on a bike. I wouldn't like drive home in a car, but I would ride a bike. You know.
Right. I feel less confident on a bike. I feel because I live downtown, so it's like the only time like you're right up against buses constantly, you know, and I'm like, not for me. Not
if you're
for
downtown,
me.
like. It's too risky.
That's what I'm saying. 'Cause I see a lot of people do it too, and I'm like,
yeah, it's dangerous. Like, out of all of the, I guess like dangerous outdoorsy things that I like, I feel like biking in the city is the most scary.
oh, for sure.
Oh, I would never do that.
Completely dependent on other people not messing up all the time, and nobody's thinking about you on like biking on the side of the street. Like you're always on high alert to not get run over in Chicago.
Right. Yeah, it's like how motorcyclists feel everywhere. But like, you know, like that reliant on other people.
Well, and that relationship is flipped 100% so much because if you're a biker, you're like people drive like assholes, and then if you're behind the wheel, you're like, what are these bikers doing? They're crazy.
100%. The only thing that's different is that the biker will die. So it's only that analogy is perfect. It's like full people should be assholes, and like, a lot of bikers are assholes, but it's like there's just no
car around them.
Run over.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think about it like that.
Well, and plus, like you were saying, is like the other things that you do, like in the like going on trails and doing like mountain biking. It's like you're not looking for cars. You're just making sure you don't slip and fall. You know, like you're like just riding a beautiful trail. You're not dodging cars while you're trying to do that.
Yeah, and I'm not doing like crazy dangerous like trail riding. You know what I mean? I'm not like doing
right.
I was going to ask that. Are you like?
I feel like rock climbing is safer than mountain biking. In that you like routinely, I feel like you routinely get hurt mountain biking, even on like trails and like, you know, like intermediate sort of trails, or at least I do. But like rock climbing, pretty much it's just like mostly catastrophic when it goes wrong. And so it's not like you're routinely getting injured, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, because when hiking in Colorado, I'll like be super high up in the mountains or whatever, and then you just see this like little skinny ass trail, and it's like on the side of a mountain. It's for the bikers. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. I can't believe people do that.
Yeah, like I'm very much like beginner intermediate right now on a mountain bike. I just got this bike like a month ago or so, and it's my first full suspension bike, which I'm pretty pumped about.
Whoa,
that's nice.
And when I had a bike like 12, 13 years ago, mountain bike, it was a hardtail, so just front suspension.
Yeah.
And apparently, people are like say like the technology of a mountain bike is kind of like you could almost think of it like a phone. Like they are like worlds apart from like what a phone would be 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So with the technology, like what you can get for like $2,000 in a mountain bike, like 10 years ago versus today is like so completely different.
Damn.
So like what were you like in that gap? Like what were you riding? Were you like a street bike or like
road bike?
So like with the real thin tire? Or the
baby tire.
I don't know. I'm like I feel like because I'm over 200 pounds, I'm always like that tire. That tire is gonna hold me. I need one of those wide ones.
Yeah, they have
the one they named the
ones.
Beer after. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
The fat tire beer.
Yeah, that's what I need. But no, yeah, those go. You get those going fast. Those the real thin tire with the street bikes.
Hey, can we get a little meta on your guys' podcast?
Sure.
I want to ask you this because I started a podcast this past year, and you guys sounds like you just started this past year too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But
I feel like every time I learn like so much, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yeah, like I wasn't thinking about this thing or like whatever. Have you guys felt like you know, in your time so far of doing a podcast, if you want to entertain this question on your podcast of like what are the things like you've already kind of like learned that you're like, oh yeah, like this.
I don't know. I think with Tony, I learned a lot about, I feel like I learned more about the person. First of all, that's like the greatest. Cause like, you know, like I've, you know, met you, what is it, almost 2 years ago now. And it's like, we don't really get to just sit down and talk like this on a regular basis. So it's nice to like, you know, people that I know already and then bring them on. It's like deep diving into like all this stuff, you know, and I got to ask you a bunch of questions that I see, you know, on social media about like, you know, traveling the world in a van or traveling the country in a van. I know you can't go in the sea yet, but as soon as they have that option, I bet you'll do it. Submarine mode. But yeah, I mean, I think that like learning about the guests and like just people from different backgrounds and different walks of life, it's really cool to hear their different opinions and thoughts on certain situations. I think it's just kind of sheds light on things like you don't think about it a certain way, you don't, you know, and then they kind of show you a different point of view. And I think that's probably the coolest part about this whole podcast, like thing that we have going. But like with all podcasts, I mean, it's the same if I were to like listen to your podcast. Now I feel like I just heard more from you and your guest. You know what I mean? It's like real cool to have like there are going to be people that listen to this and they're like, it's like they're sitting on the couch, just part of it, you know, just listening. I think that's like
very interesting too. It's very interesting that like, you know, like I listened to your guys' podcast today and like I have a couple friends who have one. It is interesting how like routinely I'm like, oh, like I just listened to an hour of something and then like didn't even like, it didn't feel like, you know what I mean? Like if someone's like, you know, if someone sends you like a lot of my friends will do like sketches and stuff online and like comedic stuff or whatever. And I can't count the amount of times like, and I've done it too, where like you have a sketch video and about like 20 seconds in you tap out. You know what I mean? And it's like the production, you put a lot of energy into it, a lot of thought. But I don't like so many times with podcasts, like, you know, I'll have friends that have them. I'm like, it's very like, I don't know. It's a special format that's like particularly engaging and holds your attention, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially like when I do anything else, like I'll like if I'm sitting at my computer, like scrolling through my inbox, doing any of that, like I can just put any podcast on in the background. And it's just nice to hear and I think it's because like I spend a lot of time alone in my apartment that I'm like, it feels like there's other people here. I feel like I'm not going insane. But
yeah,
like
you can do in the background, right?
Yeah, and then there's also like you can put it on. I could put it on my TV. Like the other day, I like put on a podcast to go to sleep. I like put it on my TV, and it was just nice to listen to. It kind of calmed me down, listening to the smooth voices in the microphone. I was like,
well, and Johnny, making yours, because not everybody does video too. So were you like, yeah, I definitely have to do video as well?
You know, it's funny because I don't know. I like the aspect of it, and I actually end up watching more like YouTube, like or podcasts that are on YouTube than I do listen to them. I think I'm such a visual person. Like everything I lean to in life, like there's like a visual component for some reason for me. And
no, me too. Yeah.
I just find it more engaging. But like, you know, today, like I listened to your guys' podcast like while I was working out, and like that's nice too. But I'm also okay just like having my full attention too, like on a screen for a podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I can like even just like I like when people clip them because like I mean I can go through and just like watch hours of like, you know, the like Bert Kreischer's, you know, like they do like those compilations of like Bert Kreischer's, Tom Segura's, and like Bill Burr's, all of them. And it's like you just like, yeah, just like a cycle through of all those. I'm like, I could watch them talk to it because they have, you know, crazy guests on, you know, all the time.
Yeah, that's true. So this is a genuine question because I think I want to do that with us eventually. But what was recording on the road like?
Well, I only did a couple, and I had some some technical glitches on my end for the last one. I really messed up the audio, and I don't know how much of that has to do with being on the road and how much of that has to do with like me playing all the roles, because I don't I'm not an audio technician or anything like that.
Right.
So, maybe it was like the variables messed up a couple times. So I have to kind of hone that in because, this next year we want to travel and I would really like to do a lot more podcasting on the road. Even that one you listened to, Michael, with Will, I was like, ooh, I tried to fix the audio as much as I could in post, but I was like, oh man.
It really wasn't bad though. Like I heard the lawnmowers every now and then when the guy walked by for the porta potty, you're like, don't worry, we didn't make eye contact.
I worked on that audio. Like, granted, I don't know anything about audio, but I tried to work on the audio for like hours and hours and hours. And boy, yeah, it's just like, you end up as yourself producing something, like playing a lot of roles, and like, I don't know. I feel a lot of stress about messing it up, and asking a guest to be on it. I messed up your episode. Sorry.
But for the record, and I was reading, I forgot where I read this, but you did a solo show, which takes huge cojones. So like, why are you worried about messing up like a solo show for a podcast? Like a solo show,
I roped someone else in,
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I always say that, it's like, well, hey, if I do mess something up, like it's a pleasure and a delight that I got to connect with you and like chat with you regardless. Like I would have loved to do this regardless, but I'm just like, I feel a little like onus of like, sorry, I messed up your episode. All the other episodes are
because you can't just be like, hey, will you want to come on back? Like let's just bullshit again.
We'll ask that. In the last one I messed up, I just couldn't bring myself to bed. Could you give me more of your time?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, like that's like episode 1. I don't think Sonny's mic was on.
True.
For the podcast. Like we listened to it and we're like, fuck. Yeah. Like, of course. Like, and then like he knew he was like the only person that like knew her prior to her being on the show. So like we were meeting her and like he's leading the conversation for the majority of it. And then you just hear me come in pretty loud. And because if you didn't hear me in comparison to him, you'd be like, oh, like they sound fine. And then like I came in and I was like, just the audio was all jacked up. And then the live show episode 2 of that was
our live show episode 2.
That was where we had the gain up all the way. Like not all the way, but like too much all the way. Like,
so I want to ask you a question and kind of tie this back into something we were talking about. Michael, you said that you watch like a lot of podcasts. Like, do you find that sometimes like I'll do this, like I'll be listening to it, maybe I'll be in bed and I'll like put it down for a little while on the side of the bed and just listen. And then like you start to hear it and like you actually want to look more because you want to like read that person's face and see how they're talking about it.
For sure. No, for sure. And
like I think this ties back in so much to like trying to do improv with a mask on, or like you lose so many communication things, at least for me, like the way I process.
No, go ahead.
I just get so much more like, I speak a little bit of German, and for me to like try to speak German on the phone would be a completely different thing than speaking it to someone in person where I can see them be like, oh, I'm confused. You didn't communicate that well, because I don't speak anywhere near perfect German. And it's just like, all that nuance of like what's coming off that person's face is really a huge part of the story to me when I'm like listening to people.
No, for sure. And that like just makes me think of like the general public, because I'm like, oh, like I feel like everybody's just mad all the time because you can't see. Like it's literally just eyeballs the whole time. And it's like, why is everyone so mad all the time?
Well, and it's like I feel like strangers don't even make eye contact anymore because they're like, that's all we got. That's all we have now. And I'm not just going to hand that out willy-nilly, because like normally you could smile. Like I would smile at people as I went by, like, hey, like, what's up? Like little nods. Everyone looks away. They look down. They don't, they close their eyes when they walk past me. I don't know if you guys experience it.
Maybe they don't know what they're getting from you,
Right. Maybe because my mask's also on and I probably look just pissed off at the world. And I'm like,
And then there's that, like I don't know if you've ever like worn sunglasses and a mask.
Oh, you look like you're about to.
I've done it a couple times.
Yeah.
And like, you feel like you are completely hidden. Like,
well, I give you credit for teaching improv online in general, because I don't know how. Like when I heard about it, like no disrespect or anything to Second City or teacher students that want to do it, but I know that I couldn't do it. I know that I could not do it. So I like give you props for teaching it, because I myself was like, no, there's no way I could be a student in like online improv.
You know what I think? I think that I felt the exact same way going into it, and a lot of teachers did. And like we kind of were like, well, this is our job. We're going to continue to do it. And then we were pleasantly surprised. But I also was going to say what I think too is that like doing it like as a class is, in my opinion, a like better experience than trying to do it as a show.
Right.
Like as a class, it's just like, hey, we're gonna try these exercises anyways, and we're gonna like hang out with some people we know, like just like getting to hang out with you guys right now. But when you try to like have it be a show where like you would like you miss that audience like laughter and reading the audience, it feels, to me that feels like almost insurmountable.
Yeah, and that was a big thing that I had said, like, because I had caught a couple of like the Facebook Live shows or the YouTube Live from they did a couple through Second City, I believe, and I was watching them, and I was like, that's got to be so terrifying for the, like, you don't know if that joke landed, you don't know if it killed, you don't know what that reaction is. And I felt like when we were on stage, the biggest part that would keep me going, all right, this is okay, was the feeding off of the energy from the audience and knowing like, oh, they're not liking us right now, they are not vibing with us, or they're loving it, and there's just completely like, that was what it was reliant on, I felt.
Also, that's the reward part of it, right? That's like, I'm making people smile. I'm like letting people have a fun night. And if you're just like in your own empty room looking at a screen, maybe connecting with like obviously another partner or something, but you're just like, somebody's watching this somewhere, people are watching this. It's like it loses that reward part for the actor of like, I don't know.
Well, and people would ask like, oh, like why can't you give it a shot online? I was like, I also can't explain to my landlord that at 11 o'clock at night I was a British dinosaur that like that was marrying someone or whatever. Like I can't just do that in my apartment. Like it's.
I was gonna like try to teach a gig that would have been overseas, and I would have been like 2 weeks straight of like teaching at like, I don't know if it was like 3 a.m. or something. I actually don't have the actual setup to do that. I've had a student have the cops called on him in class because he was too loud. I'm like, I can't.
What? Oh my God. That's so funny. Good for that kid.
He had the cops called. Like, he really went for it. That's great for him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he did go for it.
Oh wow. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, when like going back to like that reward part, it's like, yeah, we talked about how improv isn't like the lucrative performing art. Like that's not what it is. It's like, so at least pay us with that audience feedback. Like that is our pay. That's our pay,
Yeah,
and I feel like
be a reason to like do it for free, right? And like for a lot of us, it's like that joy of like getting to like make the audience laugh and like entertain them, and like that's a pretty cool feeling to be like, I like made your night fun. Or,
yeah,
like, there's obviously that part of our brain too where it's like, you're like trying not to just work for laughs to like feel better about yourself or anything like that. But there's that that like very genuine part of like, oh my God, I like gave these people a cool fun night that is part of the reward.
Well, and like tying it all the way back like to our live show that we just started, like it's fun because we have a live comment section, so we can cool. We can see people like whenever they'll have like a suggestion or whatever, and it's just like that, and then we get like the reward after, because Jackson will get a text, Tyler will get a text, I'll get a text from like people, and it's just like, hey, like that was a really good show, we really enjoyed it or whatever. Because I mean, like before COVID, we were doing shows weekly and it was amazing, and we had people showing Second City,
we were
like in Donnie's Skybox.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and then just we were doing a shit ton, and then obviously it all closed down, and we're like, we got to do something.
Yeah. I felt like we were twiddling our thumbs for like 8 months, and then we were like, podcast?
Live show? We'll just keep
and then we're
going.
like, we'll launch them both at the same time. We'll be able to keep up with it. Our schedule doesn't
Why
get
not?
crazy at all.
Why not?
You'll launch a what?
We'll launch a live show and a podcast at the exact same time. Like, we'll do them side by side. So
The best part about the live show is, well, I mean, I guess this too, is people like ask us questions or like, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And we're like, I don't know. We'll see. Like, nobody can tell us otherwise. Like, we'll think about it. Like, it's just fun, like owning it. And I'm sure you get that as well with your podcast.
Have, like that overhead of like a producer or whatever, or director that you have to like, you get total creative control.
Yeah, that's the absolute best part is like, he'll be like, should we do this? And I'll be like, we can do whatever we want. It's our show. And that's,
also, that really comes back to an important thing I think to remember is like an improviser as well, is like sometimes like, we want to strive to be validated by a theater or like get on an ensemble somewhere. And it's like, man, people always kind of self-report that the most satisfying projects they ever did were the ones that they self-produced and like did with their like comedy buddy. You know what I mean? Or they're like their friends. And so it's like, yeah, like maybe you want to like perform at a such and such theater, but it's like you guys are literally creating the thing that you want to create and you have control of it. And you don't need that permission from. And
that's what's fun. And what's also fun about it is we have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea what we're doing. And that's like your podcast too. It's like, I don't know anything about technology. Like, I don't know who the hell I'm going to interview. I'm just going to say I have one and call people in. And like, that's what's so fun about it.
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to have a little bit of the background with like the technical setup.
We're not worried about that. Jackson's our tech guy.
But yeah. So yeah, we have that going for us, which is nice. But yeah, I want to just thank you for taking the time out to join us on the podcast though. This was fun. This was awesome to catch up with you. We don't get to talk often because you're, traveling, drinking all the different types of beers, and I'm excited to try that new one if you still want to have us over.
You guys want to come hang out when it's done being brewed?
I'm
for sure.
100% down for that.
Let's do that. I got a little backyard and a fire pit too, and a garden.
Perfect. Yeah, we get to see the famous garden that we talked about.
And you can see all the rats crawling around.
Oh no,
that's Sonny's favorite
I don't
part.
need to hear about that. I've had a rough pass.
I tried to kill him off with dry ice, but
right. I haven't even tried that.
I haven't heard about that, but I'll try it.
Yeah.
We have an entire alley. We're gonna fight with dry ice.
So, but before we wrap up, just what? So your podcast,
Out of Your Head,
and then where everyone they can listen to it on iTunes, Spotify,
all of them.
It's everywhere.
Okay, everywhere. So
it's everywhere. Or you can go to like my website, which is just JONNY for Johnny and then Nelson, and it will redirect you to some of those podcasts, or some
awesome.
It's hosted.
And then your Instagram is at the same Jonny Nelson. Well, not the same, but it's the same. Yeah, it's
Johnny. I couldn't tell you.
It's Johnny. It's Jonny Nelson, I think.
Oh, is it?
95% sure.
I don't know.
That's what my note says.
Yeah, mine too.
Plugging it.
It's Jonny Nelson.
Yeah,
it's Jonny Nelson.
So follow him. Follow the podcast. Check him out. And thanks again for joining us. It's always a pleasure talking to
Johnny.
Thanks for having me.
It was for us too.
anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it.